What's going on, everybody, and welcome into a brand new episode of the Broken Wheel Bearing Podcast. I'm Matt Codd, your host this week, and alongside of me, guest hosting Jake out of office. We missed you, Jake, already, but I got the one, Vince Petrotti. What's up, Vince?
Oh, dude, what's up? It's so good to be back. Back on the pod. Back on the POD.
Like I said, we got Vince filling in for Jake this week. Jake, unfortunately, he was off for work this week. Vince, luckily, was able to fill on in after a very busy weekend from yourself out in San Diego, dude.
It was a wild weekend. That was the most fun I think I've ever had at a race. But I think my memory might be blurred from all the fun I had out of the race.
So how long were you out there for?
So I flew in Thursday, and then I flew out Sunday right after the race at like 9 p.m. local time.
What time you land?
5 a.m. Eastern. Though the flight was delayed, so it's more like 6 a.m. Eastern, which was worse.
Oh my god. Oh my god. Yeah, we definitely want to hear your aspect, obviously, as a fan that was at the race, Vince. Because NASCAR fans are a little, and you know this more than anybody. NASCAR fans always love to find a way to complain about something. But I will say this: they're not going to complain because guess what time it is? Heim time. It is Heim time. It's Heim time, baby. Before we get started, though, Vince, I got a couple show announcements from the podcast to all of our fans that are listening to us live on YouTube and Facebook. If you're listening to us live on YouTube and Facebook, feel free to chime in. Blown Engine chat line wide open for you. Multiple topics of discussion tonight. Feel free if you want to complain about the road course. If you love the road course, we want to hear from you. If your favorite driver ended up getting wrecked, you just need to vent some. You just need to get some stuff off your chest about drivers wrecking. I know you right there are going to be discussing a little bit about your favorite driver. Whatever you want to discuss tonight, feel free. Multiple topics of conversation, wide open. Also, if you love what you're hearing, Facebook, YouTube, at Broken Wheel Bearing Podcast, feel free to follow us on those streaming platforms. Also, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and Amazon Music as well. If you miss our live stream, you can go onto those apps, and you can listen to our live episode over there. Final show announcement this evening. The Broken Wheel Bearing Podcast, we will be live down at Richmond in August 15th, live from the track. Looking forward to the night race at Richmond. I've never been to Richmond, Vince. Have you?
Oh, I've actually been to Richmond a few times.
Is it fun?
It's a neat track. We used to stay in the Section 8 housing, and that's, I think, how a lot of those people made their money. So that's where we would stay. We would have our RV parked like in the empty lot nearby, and they had food and plenty of shows.
Well, it's similar to almost like Pocono, right? Like Pocono, that's a party. Martinsville is like in the town. I'm looking forward to Richmond. Never been. Jake and I will be live at that track on August 15th. If you miss us at Dover and Pocono, feel free to come find us at Richmond when we get closer. So those are the show announcements this evening. Let's get into some of the hot topics from NASCAR. Some headliners this week, courtesy of jski.com. And do you want to read them off, or what do you think?
I'm going to let you read them off. I'm rusty.
All right, sounds good to me. First update, Amazon Prime ended up getting the Nelson ratings from their San Diego street course race on Sunday. They averaged 2.29 million viewers in 2026, which was 8% increase in viewership from this race date last year, which was Pocono. Vince, before we get into a couple of the other topics, what do you think about Amazon Prime as a television partner of NASCAR?
It's been fantastic. I got to meet with a number of the TV broadcast crew at Coronado Air Base, and all of them are really cool, personable people, but their broadcast is just, it doesn't feel like they're talking down to me like I'm just some dumb hillbilly. They really do kind of go into the racing aspect of it. And it just seems like they really care about it. That's what I've been telling people. It's like, it's not that Fox broadcasts are like irredeemable. It's that they just don't seem to care anymore. And then when you get to the NBC broadcast, it feels like they're trying to talk to you like you're a bunch of, hillbillies and 10-year-olds, So it's kind of refreshing that in the middle of the season we just have this like really adult, mature, but also really dedicated and I don't want to say careful, but like full of care broadcast. I really do like Amazon. It's also nice when you have an Amazon subscription. You can just watch the race.
Yeah, I mean, I'm surprised that people complain. It's 2026, folks. I mean, Amazon Prime is like the number one wholesale retailer in this country. I mean, if you have a credit card or if you have an account, you can just watch the race. I don't know why people complain about that, but we're in the year 2 of the television partnership with Amazon Prime, and I agree with you, Vince. I totally, we've said this multiple times on air, on this show, Jake, as well. And you kind of echoed what I have said in the past. It just feels like it's a perfect blend of everything, right? Mm-hmm. I have Letarte, who, to me, I don't know why Larry McReynolds is still America's crew chief, because, quite frankly, Steve Letarte is where it's at. I mean, that dude, the burn bar, the fuel tax, all that type of stuff. Give me more of that. Dale Jr. has the blend of the perfect, like, old school mentality, but very intelligent. I love him as a broadcaster. I really do. And then Adam Alexander, not a big fan of his voice, but I know people hate my voice too, so I can't really complain about that. Adam Alexander, all in all, is a pretty intelligent person within the booth, and I agree with you. I really do think that it's a perfect blend of everything, where it's like Fox, it's kind of like, all right, we're all drunk hillbillies. NBC is kind of like, okay, we're NBC. We have this NASCAR television deal. I guess we have to broadcast it, Mm-hmm. But I feel like Amazon does a really good job with that. But so their last race this year, 2.29 million viewers at the San Diego Street Course. Again, overall, Amazon Prime killed the ratings. And if you think streaming's going away anytime soon with NASCAR, you're mistaken. Next update this week. We are in Sonoma. So NBA champion and sports analyst Fetus Ezell, he'll be named the honorary Pace Car starter at Sonoma. He was part of the Golden State Warriors championship team when they won all the championships years ago. Ryan Newman was announced today that he will be joining Colleague Racing at North Wilkesboro Truck Race. And I'll be honest with you, I think that this is a really good move, even though a lot of people are complaining about it.
No, I like it. I think it's cool. The Rocket Man Ryan Newman, put him out there.
Yeah, dude, I saw a couple posts going, oh, Newman was overrated. I'm like, dude, this guy was a mechanic. Like, he kind of, in my opinion, changed the sport of NASCAR in regards to the analytics, the engineering behind everything. 51 career poles, by the way.
I know. That's among the very top. Hold on. Let's see here. Cup poles. He's got to be near the very top, right? Yeah, he's ninth place all time. He's tied with Denny Hamlin. And Denny Hamlin, I know that Denny Hamlin's been really killing it the last few years, but Ryan Newman, I feel like he got almost all of those poles in the first 5 years of his career too. That's the other thing. When the cars are the hardest to drive, that's when he was getting the job done and hitting these poles. So And also a time period where no one was locked in, right? This is a time period where everyone had to give it their all in qualifying, and there was no inbound qualifying. So there was no, oh, I'm going to set it for qualifying, I'll be screwed in the race. There was, I'm going to set it for qualifying, and I'm going to rebuild the entire car before the race. So it's a very different time period. But for him to have sitting ninth all time in career polls, I think that's pretty good.
Yeah, very good. Very good. 18 career wins, too, by the way. Multiple crown jewels. He was 2008 Daytona 500 champion, and then he won the Brickyard 400. Let me pull that.
And I was at that Daytona 500.
Were you really?
Yeah, I was. I was at the 50th Daytona 500, and I was at the, gosh, like the 64th or something.
That's insane. I guess I was, 76, 2024, when William Byron ended up winning. Oh, Chastain to this day. He had the lead going to the start-finish.
I know. He
ends up
so
wrecking.
Close.
Oh, that broke my heart. But, Newman ended up winning the Brickyard 400 in 2013. So, multiple crown jewels on his slate as well. I think it's a good move. I really love what Kaulig's doing with this free agent driver. They're bringing in, former drivers with big names, personalities back into the truck series, and it seems like the guys are all on board. I mean, we had Stewart at Daytona, we had Clint Bowyer, Jamie McMurray, and then Ryan Newman just coming up in North Wilkes.
Jamie McMurray, man, he destroyed that wall.
Yes,
I was right there when it happened. He was the last car in the group of cars. Like, he was the last truck in line. And I just hear all the trucks go by, and then I just kind of hear a quieter truck, and then I just hear boom, and I'm just like, did Jamie McMurray just knock that wall down? And absolutely he did. They had to repair the wall, and he just, I was like, oh, that's not good.
We're going to talk about the racing weekend in a little bit, but like you said, I mean, I'm going to ask you something to think about before we get into the San Diego discussion, like the street course events. Who hit the wall harder? I mean, was it Jamie McMurray this past weekend, or was Jimmy Johnson, the Cup, completely destroyed the tire barrier?
Dude, that impact on the tire barrier was huge.
And there was no flag.
I'm looking, and I just see him pull in. He was 2 spots down from the 11 box, and I was sitting in the 11 box, and I'm just looking over like, how's that car still rolling?
Yeah.
So I guess those tires were pretty light and spongy because it looked horrific, but I guess there's no damage to it. The hardest hit by far, though, was Sam Mayer.
Yeah.
I mean, bad angle. Bad angle in the turn. Bad angle into that wall.
Oh, yeah. We're going to jump back into sponsorship updates. Next sponsorship update, we have Michael Roberts Construction will be returning with Zane Smith at Sonoma this upcoming weekend. And then final update in regards to sponsorship, we have Echo Park Automotive to sponsor AJ Allman Dinner at Sonoma, which, Vince, at this point, I feel like we're starting to see Echo Park everywhere in NASCAR. It's kind of getting old really fast. But
they're trying to be HendrickCars.com.
Yeah. I mean, it's pretty much. So, all sponsorship updates, again, courtesy of jski.com. Follow them on X, Facebook, or by web at www.jski.com. So, all right. San Diego. Let's take on the topic of conversation this upcoming week. We got the San Diego Street Course. I'm going to open up the mic to you, considering the fact that you were at the race.
Well, I'll tell you what. I don't know what happened to my thing here. I think I froze. Can you still hear me?
I can hear you. Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. I don't need I don't need the mic. I don't need the camera to still be working. No, the one thing that I can say about this weekend, there's a lot of things that I want to dig into. One of them is the logistics. So Friday, I got to the track at probably 11 o'clock ish local time. We took our time that morning, me and my buddy, we took our time, we had breakfast, we didn't rush ourselves to the track at all. We took the ferry. Now, we were told by a lot of people, NASCAR included, that there would be trams to transport you to the track.
Mm-hmm.
That was not the case. There was nothing. There wasn't even the bus service happening at all. So there was no means of getting to the track from the ferry. The ferry drops you off in downtown Coronado. Downtown Coronado is probably about 1.5 miles to 2 miles from the entrance of the military base. The military base takes up the entirety of the north section of the island. And the track was right up against the shoreline on the north side of the island, meaning I had to walk a really, 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 really long time just to get to the gate. And then when I got to the gate, there's no signs for where the credentials are. Luckily, we knew where the credentials are on our own, but that was a hike in of itself. So then we had to hike to the credentials area. Then we had to hike from the credentials area. Again, no signage, no nothing telling you where to go. That would take you to the pedestrian entrance. And the pedestrian entrance was not the same as the automotive entrance. And the pedestrian entrance was, of course, all the way back on the base side of the island. So I had to walk all the way back 3 more blocks back to where I just was, to then walk left to get back up into the gate. And then it was probably another mile from the entrance of the military base to the actual entrance of the quote-unquote track area. That was a hike. Me and my buddy determined at that exact moment we were not doing that again this weekend. There was no way.
So you walked the whole course of the track, essentially.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I walked the course of the track a few times this weekend. But when we got to the actual track, the fan experience was unlike any other I've ever been to. They had so much to do for so many people. The haulers, all of the driver haulers were lined up in this kind of beautiful hallway of sorts, and in the middle were all of the flags for all of the Navy call signs, and in front of the flags of the Navy call signs was a huge jet, and in front of the jet was a NASCAR stock car that was actually the car they were doing ride-alongs with. So they would actually fire that car up and then drive that car up and around to where the track opening was. So it was actually it was really neat. They had it parked up there for most of the weekend. Gave fans who've never seen a NASCAR Cup car a chance to get really close to one, and then kind of get to see the military jet behind it. I got to hold guns with Navy SEALs. I got to get pictures taken with sailors and other military members, such as the Marines and the Army, who were also there. The whole experience was really phenomenal. And there were trams at the track that would take you to the north side of the track.
Gotcha.
Because the walk otherwise is about 1.5 miles, again, from the kind of main fan area up there. But logistically, again, there was kind of a lot of issues. I think that a lot of people who went would say that there was almost no food options.
Really?
I don't think that's fair to say, because there was plenty of food options, but they were too small of a crew, too small of a request. You know, there was probably 24 to 30 food vendors, but they were essentially food trucks operating in a tent next to their food truck.
Gotcha.
So you have to imagine, I mean, it's like these people were doing like artisan foods, because they're all food trucks. Like, oh, all these different types of lobster mac and cheese, and they're $25 each, and you're sitting in line for 3 hours. You know, the food lines were literally hours long. Mm-hmm. Hours long. And my buddy and I were just talking to each other, and we were talking with one of the crew guys from Joe Gibbs Racing, and we were literally like, where do I just get a hot dog?
Yeah.
Where does a man just go get a hot dog or a burger? Like, the food does not need to necessarily be good, but it needs to exist. Unfortunately, Saturday didn't get much better. It seemed like Saturday was actually the worst day to go. It seemed like a lot of people had a hard time getting in. I personally know that I left my hotel at about 6:50, and we got stuck in traffic, and if I didn't tell the Uber driver to just cut through a neighborhood section of the island to drop me off where I knew I needed to walk into, we would have been in that traffic for another 2 hours or so. And then when I got to the front gate, the pedestrian entrance, I was talking to the people, and we're walking past them because we had garage passes so we could go in. And these people are sitting in line. They're saying they've been in line since 7 a.m. on the dot.
Ooh. Ooh.
And it took them about an hour to get to the island. So it's, I'm not sure what went wrong logistically on Saturday, and I was concerned. And I think NASCAR was concerned because Sunday came. I got to the track later than I did on Saturday, and I had a much easier time getting in there. The traffic was none. They seemed to have it figured out. I don't know if they just had more personnel. The line to get in was pretty significant, but it was so early in the day that I'm not even sure if maybe it was just a the event wasn't open yet, because when I went in, there was no one else in there.
Yeah.
Except for guys with garage passes and crew members. So logistically, it just seemed like every day they kind of figured it out.
Okay.
Every day they got a little bit better with it. No one complained about not being able to get beer. They had that figured out. Beer lines were figured out. But food was definitely problematic. I consider myself very privileged for a number of reasons. One of them is I got to go. The other one is I had crew feed me. I had crew feed me on 2 of the 3 days. that made a world of a difference. When you have crew just feeding you and you don't have to worry about the food lines, that's nice. But getting out of there, I know a lot of people struggled to leave when the event was over on Sunday. When I got to the airport, I was at the airport with a number of people who were at the race, and a number of crew members were there as well. Some of the guys from Legacy, some of the guys from 2311, some of the guys from... I guess a lot of the guys from 2311 were there, because some of them were in Logitech gear, some of them were in the Xfinity Mobile gear, so a lot of different members from that crew were on my flight, and they were all like, dude, we good thing this flight's delayed, because we just got here.
That's insane.
I think the traffic getting out of there was pretty hectic on Sunday, but all in all, you know, I think a lot of people were worried about logistics. I was worried about logistics. I think NASCAR was worried about logistics on Saturday, and they had it figured out Sunday. So that side of it was pretty good. I know a lot of people struggled to get food. And the other thing that I think a lot of people struggled with is that they didn't know the rules of entering.
Okay.
No bags.
Oh, really?
No bags, unless they were clear.
Okay, that would make sense.
No open containers at all.
So you weren't allowed to. So you were not allowed to bring beer into the track.
No.
Wow.
No, and I did not know that.
Okay.
So when I went on Saturday, now mind you, I should have kind of known this because I was there Friday, but my idiot brain just thought that these people were having their things thrown out because they didn't have a garage pass. So when I showed up with some beer on Saturday, they asked me to throw it out, and I was like, but I have a cute little pass that says I can do what I want. But unfortunately, that didn't work. So I had to throw it out, and it was funny because I ended up just kind of finding someone who wanted to drink in the line.
So I mean, I guess it would make sense because it was on the naval base.
Yes.
So I'm assuming that it's crazy though. No beer.
A lot of TSA rules.
So they basically forced you to buy beer at from vendors.
Yep.
Wow.
You had to buy beer at and water. You couldn't bring your own water.
Really?
Yeah. No outside liquids. No outside liquids over 3.4 ounces. And I think a lot of people got very sunburnt. I am one of those people. Mm-hmm. Despite my Italian heritage, being out in the sun for 3 continuous days with 0 sunscreen, unfortunately, did cost me a little bit of skin on the front of my nose.
Yeah.
But I know a lot of people had like no sunscreen, and I didn't see any vendors at all except for one NASCAR hauler that was selling sunscreen at all. So if you brought sunscreen over 3.4 ounces, it was also thrown out. So I think that needed to be clearer. I think that they needed to be able to make smart decisions on things like that. I mean, if you're doing security and you say no liquids and someone shows up with sunscreen, can't we just kind of figure out what sunscreen's for? I understand, though, it is a military base. It's a little bit more strict. I just, people are bringing their phone charger blocks and they're having them thrown away. Wow. People are bringing, obviously, if you're bringing like a pocket knife or utility knife, most NASCAR tracks would probably let you go. This was not one of them. Pocono would be like, word. They wouldn't even say anything. There's no, you think security's stopping you at Pocono? You can bring a machete. We had a machete in our RV when we would bring it to the track because we'd hack things with it. We thought it'd be fun. There was no security at Pocono. But yeah, if you brought like a utility knife, it was thrown out. So like it was. I just kept telling people who were guests of mine who were gonna be there. I was like, TSA rules. Just think TSA. Can I bring this on a plane? Can I put this on my carry-on? Can I put this on? Can I put this in my check bag even? If the answer is no on any of those questions, then I wouldn't bring it to the track. But I also, because of the lack of, food vendors, the one thing I thought was even worse than the lack of food vendors, in my opinion, was kind of the lack of water vendors. There's plenty of places to get beer, but it seemed like there was a lack of water in places. Saturday, I went to a number of beer stands asking for water, and they didn't have it for one reason or another. Maybe they sold out. But again, this goes back to the logistics of it, where I feel like NASCAR on Saturday, I think, got their butts kicked. Mm-hmm. A little bit. I think I know a number of people I've seen kind of be very critical, and they were like, I didn't even go on Sunday because Saturday was such a cluster. And it was like, yo, dude, you should have went Sunday because Sunday was awesome.
Sunday. So this whole weekend, I will say this, is from a television viewership standpoint, it's insane hearing your side because, like you said, you were at the track. I guess before I go into my point, I do have a question for you. With all the logistical stuff, do you think that NASCAR would end up going back to the naval base for the street course?
Everyone I talked to in the garage said that they're set to do it next year. So,
gotcha.
I think that NASCAR is pursuing it 100%, but I think that there's, I think that it's not set in stone enough for them to put it on the schedule. But it's NASCAR's intent, from what I've heard from everyone in the garage, it's NASCAR's intent to do this again next year.
Yeah. And so going back from a television perspective, right? I mean, you were at the track. I was watching it from all the way in Pennsylvania. So, first of all, to me, credit to where credit's due for NASCAR. And look, a lot of people complain about what NASCAR is doing with a lot of stuff and all the rules. Yeah, they nailed it this weekend. They absolutely nailed it this weekend. I thought this was the best road course race I can ever remember in the next gen era. This was phenomenal. The only complaint, and I don't know about you being at the track, the only complaint I would have as a viewership standpoint is I think that the race was 10 laps too long.
I mean, I think I could agree with that.
It was a 3.4 mile road course. Now, granted, a lot of I love it because of the strategy I played out. I thought that they absolutely nailed the road course in the layout. I mean, it was essentially, the aerial view was essentially a massive oval with a couple 90-degree turns and these long sweeping turns. I thought it was successful. I thought it was a lot of fun. The one thing I will say, I think the front half of the street course on TV was very visual, beautiful. We had the carrier in the background going into turn 3. You had the city skyline in the background going from, like, I believe 1 and 2. But then on the back half of the course, it looked like you were basically running a warehouse.
Yeah.
And which I was kind of like, okay, let's get back to the beautiful. And like, I got to give credit to Amazon Prime too. They were trying to make those camera angles like beautiful, where they got the backdrop of like the water and like everything. But it's still kind of like, damn, it looks like we were racing at a strip mall in like the Poconos, right? With all the like the way the buildings.
No,
look,
it really
right?
did. I would see it on the screens when they were going through turns like what was like 5 into 6, 7.
Yeah.
And it's like, wow, it really just looks like we're going through. Like, it looks like they're shooting like a movie.
Yes, yeah, exactly. It looked like Universal Studios essentially. It was kind of like, oh, interesting. It was like, okay, where's this beautiful scenery at?
It was very surreal in person, I will say that.
Yeah.
And the spotter situation was not good. The spot, from what I could see where spotters were sitting, I was like stunned. We did a track tour on Sunday morning, and they're like pointing things out, and they're like, oh yeah, and then here we are, this is turn 5, so that bus right there, that bus is where the spotters are sitting. And I'm like, that? We have all these buildings and things that are in the way. We chose a bus that can barely see over the catch fence.
LA Bus Tours. That was a big advertisement, right?
I know. And I talked to a spotter who sat over there. Gray Galding was spotting for the 38 car of Zane Smith, and that was his spotter stand. Yeah. And he was like, "Dude, first of all, the bus isn't covered.
No, the sun was beating on them.
You're just in the sun.
Yeah.
The whole time. In hell.
Yeah.
And the seats are like leather, and they're hot." And like you move your hand and they're burning your hand. And I was like, that sounds terrible. He's like, yeah, no, I hate it. If I see a bus ever again, I'm burning it down. And I was like, understandable. That's a very understandable position. But I think he must have done a good job spotting for his brother-in-law, because Zane had like a top 5 performance.
Dude, oh man, we're going to talk about Zane Smith in a little bit, but like, was there only one spotter stand on the whole entire course? Because usually road courses we have multiple spotters.
I think they had 4 spotters, but I don't know where they were. Was the one there. I believe they had another area stationed near the hangar kind of chicane area.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like when you fly out of the Red Bull section into the Camping World section. There was another set of spotters there. Okay. And then there was spotters basically just on the ground in that high-speed S's section leading into the final chicane.
That's insane.
They were just on the ground there. Some of them were just stationed there. And I'm like, behind the fence?
Yeah,
yes.
How do you even spot it at the ground level? Because like the biggest thing about being a spotter is being up high and all that type of stuff. That's a weird spot for that.
So I hope if they do this again, maybe they'll fix the spotter situation. But apparently the drivers didn't need it. The drivers had that figured out.
Well, we're going to talk about a few, both Saturday and Sunday, because we saw incredible racing all throughout this weekend. That's why I want to say NASCAR completely nailed this street course out of the park. Let's get to the Blown End chat line real quick. Jake, he checked in. Jake, we miss you too. Miss my BWB fam, and he goes straight success this weekend. Run it back. I am
run it back.
I run this back. I really do. I think personally, to me, I think that this was a lot more entertaining of a race than the Chicago Street Course. And I was not a street course hater. I like the street course in Chicago.
I did too. It was a little. I think the street course in Chicago is kind of maybe a little boring in terms of the shape of the track. Like, but then when you get on the ground level, it was kind of exciting. Like, you have these bridges that lead into the corners, and the corners were kind of awkward shaped. I thought the Chicago Street Course was great, but this course was. It was a marathon. It was a marathon for these drivers. The only thing I heard is that they're going to try to shorten the course, and I'm just like, how are you going to do that?
Unless they go through hangars at that point. I mean, I was listening to Carson Hocevar on the Dale Jr. Download this past week, and he was saying, he's like, I wish that we had, and he talked about the Chicago Street Course. He's like, the Chicago Street Course was visually more appealing than the San Diego Street Course, and reason this. Life was still moving on outside those racing walls.
Yeah.
For the San Diego Street Course, things were dead. It was done. And the other thing that Hocevar did say, he's like, I do wish that we were able to drive through at least one of the, make it turn into one of the hangars and go through the hangar. That would have been a lot cooler, like, if, as a driver. But, I mean, to me, like, going back to, what we saw this whole weekend in regards to the racing, it was a very passing, aggressive racing type of event. I will give them credit. I loved how we were racing basically on 2 different surfaces. You had the asphalt on the first part of the track, and then on the back half of the track, it was all concrete.
Well, I mean, I would say it was like 6 different
racing surfaces. Yeah.
Because there was the concrete that was for stationing, where it was just concrete pads that you would tie the planes down to. They would have like kind of anchors in the middle of them. And then there was the concrete runway section. That was a different concrete entirely. That concrete is grooved. That concrete had kind of grip to it. So the drivers were like, the kind of runway section was very fast, very gripped. And then you would fly into kind of this kind of brushed concrete. The concrete pad is just, it's like a 12 by 12 block. And again, there's like an anchor point in the middle of it. So every time you transfer over to those things, like each of those blocks are slightly settled differently. So it would just be ba-bump, 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 ba-bump the whole time through. And if your kind of tire hit into one of where the anchor points were, I know they filled it in with asphalt, but they just kind of put asphalt in that little anchor hole. Like, that was it. So like, it wasn't like it was smooth. It wasn't like there was grip there. Like, it was a tiny little square of asphalt that they kind of just poured or dripped hot, hot asphalt just right into the hole there and just called it a day, packed it down a little bit and said that's good. So it was very bumpy. It was very wishy-washy. A lot of drivers complained about it. And if you want, I can talk about what some of the drivers said about the simulator. So I thought that was the most interesting part of the weekend.
Yeah, well, let's go into that topic next, Vince. And then, like I said, we're going to go into a little bit of the discussions of like the O'Reilly series, and then of course the Cup. And obviously Truck was out there. But before we talk about the sim, Jimmy he checks in on the Blown Engine chat line. He goes, "Someone sabotaging my boy Ricky's car at night before the race. I swear he's a Ricky Stenhouse Jr. fan."
Dude, something happened. Like Ricky just like turned off.
Yeah, that was it was weird. It was weird. And then Jimmy checked back in the game, goes down with KMAG in Denmark.
Nah, we love Ken. I love Kevin Magnussen.
He qualified for the Xfinity fastest lap, by the way, this past weekend.
He did.
So he had the fastest lap.
They put new tires on it, and they said, "Hey, dude, take it easy, because if a caution came out, they were gonna stay out."
Yeah.
And he went out there and set the 1st through 6th fastest time for the rest of the race.
It was absolutely incredible.
He didn't care at all. He didn't care even a little bit.
And we're going to talk about him and Noah Gragson at the end of this race, too. But, Vince, talk about the simulator, what the drivers were saying.
Yeah, so I talked to... let me count. Let's make sure I'm counting this correctly. So I talked to 2 drivers from FRM in the Cup Series and 1 driver from FRM in the Truck. I then talked to 2 drivers in the O'Reilly Series. One is a Chevrolet driver from SS Greenlight, and the other one is a Chevrolet driver from RCR.
Are you able to say any of their names? If not,
nah, but
okay,
you know,
you're fine. You're fine.
I don't want to put anyone together. But I think people can kind of dissect who I'm talking to. How many drivers are from SS Greenlight there? 2.
That is okay. So, anyways, continue. Sorry about that.
So let me just break it down to. I talked to a couple of drivers from Ford in Truck and Cup. I talked to a couple of drivers from Chevrolet and O'Reilly in Cup. I talked to a driver from Ram in the Truck Series, and then I talked to 2 drivers from Toyota, and then 2 further employees from Toyota about their simulator. What I heard from the Chevy drivers, generally speaking, was, and I'm going to use an exact quote here, the iRacing simulator gets the track layout correct and the grip amount completely wrong. The Chevrolet simulator does neither.
Wow, really?
So, that driver was very unhappy, I think, with how shocked they were with how the track drove.
Yeah.
And they said that they actually had an easier time going from iRacing to real life, just in that the iRacing layout was... There was a few changes. I think that I was pointed out a couple of changes, specifically in the S's section, and in the Camping World section. There was a couple of changes from iRacing to what ended up being happening. But those changes did not actually change the track layout. It was kind of like, instead of a tire barrier being there was like a wall pack there instead. Or instead of there being kind of like, they had to turn slightly further down after a certain dip or change in the pavement structure. They actually moved the turn a little bit further, so you actually had to stay on the gas a little longer in the simulator compared to real life. But otherwise, it was very, very similar in terms of layout. But apparently the Chevy sim was not that similar, in that they were frustrated in that. And then when I talked to the Ford drivers, they kind of didn't want to tell me too much about what was going on in the Ford sim, but both drivers agreed that they had an easier time just walking through the iRacing lap to real life, and then just completely ignored how the car drove, and then just drove it how they felt it in the seat of their pants when they were there, which is probably the best way of doing it. And then the Toyota guys...
No issues.
Big smiles on their faces.
Of course.
Big smiles on their faces. I asked them how the iRacing one compared to the Toyota one, compared to the real life one. Big smiles. The only person who was willing to answer was a non-driver, and he basically just smiled and said, "Yeah, I think we have the best one." And I think it makes sense. It's true.
Well,
I was also told that Brent Cruz was the fastest one of the Toyota sim, and golly gee, he was looking really good out there until he blew that transmission.
Well, and that's the craziest thing, right? I mean, they talk about Brent Cruz, and that, I mean, obviously Christopher Bell, clearly recovering from the broken wrist that happened up at Michigan. First of all, for him to even be racing the way he's been racing, in my opinion, like Pocono, and then of course this past week until the first caution, immaculate job by Christopher Bell. I mean, dude, I pull for Christopher Bell because that dude is tough. But Brent Cruz, you're watching the Cup race and you're like, damn, Brent Cruz is really pushing right through this field. Like, he is moving. And then all of a sudden,
he came out there
boom.
And he was, they had him, in 36th or whatever.
Yeah, it was 36th.
And he passed a few cars. I think he worked his way up to 29th. And I think he got a couple freebies in there because they spun or kind of got out of his way. But, he was passing people. He was fast. And I think that just shows, Toyota's simulators, they got to figure it out. You know why I know that? Because the 18-year-old who's never been in a Cup car in his entire life went out there and immediately started putting down time. Yeah. I mean, we're talking he was putting down very similar time to the leaders when he was getting clean air. He also had, by the way, he also took tires.
Yeah.
When they did the driver swap. So it's not like he wasn't in an advantage, but clearly, the kid's got the goods. I think he blew the transmission on his own volition, unfortunately, but it's hard to know how these things actually happen. To me, it looks like when he grabbed the shifter, it looks like he kind of went forward with it as soon as he went to grab it. Might have been a reflex thing, might have been that he just kind of grabbed it too forcefully or whatever, not used to that shifter. Kind of an example of never been in that car before. Mm-hmm. That's unfortunately something you would have to learn the hard way in this case. Because if you remember the first ever Cup race with these cars, I think 4 people blew their transaxles.
Yes.
And maybe maybe not all of those were their own fault, but you know what I mean. Clearly, there's a learning curve to this car. But man, if you can be 18 years old, never be in a Cup car before in your entire life, and immediately be at least lap times competitive, that tells me that your simulator at home, or in this case at your home facilities at JGR, have to be pretty darn good.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And obviously Brent Cruz, one of the top hottest prospects in NASCAR, in my opinion. He'll eventually, we all know he's going to be in the 11 car when Denny retires. I mean, it's basically, we are just waiting for Denny to retire. Brent's going to take over the 11, which, again, JGR, man, that driver lineup when Brent Cruz comes up, you got Briscoe, you got Bell, then you're going to Brent Cruz and Ty Gibbs. Talk about going from the past generation to the next generation. The torches have been passed. But it definitely, again, going back to your comment with Toyota, I mean, it definitely, and I'm not, and Vince, this is not you saying, oh, Toyota's rigging NASCAR and all that type of stuff. They're not. Toyota Racing Development, whatever they're doing within the organizations, it is working. They are putting money where their mouth is at. They want to see all their organizations succeed. I know Legacy was kind of down this past weekend. with Eric Jones and John Hunter Nemechek, but let's call it as is. They're not
those
road
guys
racers.
They're not road racers.
Yeah, they're not road racers, but I'll tell you, both of them have been putting down lap times and leading laps over the last couple months. And Eric Jones right now is in the chase. Yeah, they've been really fast. So it seems like everything within the Toyota stable is starting to trickle down within all 3 of the organizations. So it seems like there's a lot of stability within Toyota. So that doesn't surprise me whatsoever in regards to the rig racing. Saturday, though, Austin Hill ended up, actually, before we jump to that topic, we got a couple more comments coming in the chat line. Jimmy, he checked in. Going back to Ricky, he said, well, first the alternator battery, then loses fluid after barely bumping the wall in turn 1. Yeah, there was fluid on the track. They had to throw that caution. And then, I forgot about the alternator situation that he had in that race.
Who was that, Ricky?
Ricky Stenhouse Jr.
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure what that comment was about. I'm looking at it, I'm like, who was that one for?
Yeah, no, I think it was coming back down to Ricky Stenhouse Jr. Jimmy, thanks for checking in. Appreciate you listening to us. And then Jake, he checked in. He said, taking flight, loved watching this car getting all 4 tires off the ground. Yeah, that was
wild.
So
you could hear them chirp. They would hit that bump, and you would hear that engine chirp because they would hit the rev limiter.
Really?
Before they landed, and you could hear them land. I mean, it was intense. You would just hear them coming, and then they would be flying up, and then you hear them chirp right over that thing, and then you'd hear the compression of the car land and hit the track. I mean, that track was gashed up. I wish I got a photo of it. I did when I did the track walkthrough. I didn't have my phone out when we first started, and we go through turn one. I was like, "Oh man, that was such a cool photo. The track was torn up right there."
Damn. No, on TV it was so cool because when the first Prime had the practice on, and I was watching it, because obviously I'm intrigued, right? I mean, it's the first time we've ever driven this course, so I'm watching practice, and I think Bubba Wallace ends up taking flight, and I'm like, Jesus, are they gonna land and be able to drive? I mean, that's insane. But no, I mean, credits to all the drivers, man. I mean, there was a few that ended up having issues, but I mean, they were able to drive away from that. But going back to what I was saying on Saturday, Austin Hill. Right, Austin Hill ended up winning the O'Reilly race. Excuse me, I keep saying Xfinity, but very emotional win for Richard Childress Racing. It was their first win since Kyle Busch ended up passing, and honestly, no other organization deserves it more than them at this moment, right? And in translation to that, Austin Hill was a legit competitor in this race on Sunday. So
until he wasn't.
Keyword, until he wasn't. But yeah, I mean, I was pretty impressed with what I saw from Austin Hill on Saturday, but then more impressed with what I saw from him on Sunday. Obviously, he got caught up in the quote-unquote big one. But in regards to Saturday, too, that fan that hopped the fence to meet Sheldon Creed.
I had way too many fans message me. I had way too many friends of mine message me and be like, Vince, was that you?
Yeah. His post-race interview with Sheldon Creed was hysterical because they were like, "Yeah, I'm sitting in the car under the red flag, and this guy comes up and he's like wants to talk to me. He's like, hey," and Sheldon's like, "I asked him, can you check to see if the damage on the car is that bad?" And the guy had no clue what he was doing. But I saw your post on Facebook, and you were like, I think meeting Sheldon Creed is cool, but I don't know if jail time is worth it.
I know, that's such a good. Gosh, Sheldon Creed's kind of cool to meet. I've met him in person once before, but I don't know if prison time is worth meeting Sheldon Creed. I would love to find out what they end up charging him with, because I mean, he technically trespassed
on a naval base.
On a naval base.
Yeah,
when I got dropped off Sunday morning, my not Airbnb, my Uber driver, he asked, he was like, "Dude, do you think I can get in there?" And I'm like, "Get in where?" And he's like, can I get past where I'm trying to drop you off at? And I'm like, I mean, I don't know if I would try. And he's like, "Oh, I've dropped off things at this place before. I bet I could sneak in." I'm like, all right, if it gets me closer to the front of the gate, I guess you can try. You're the one driving the car. And we get immediately stopped. And there's a checkpoint right there by the pedestrian entrance. And he's immediately stopped, and they're like, "Hey, Ubers are supposed to go way over there." And he was just like, I was like, sorry, officer. I told him I have the garage pass, and they're just like, "Oh, all right, well, you get out of the car. You gotta go back." And they let me get out of the car, and I was like, "Thank you, officers. I'm sorry for the misunderstanding. Was there a garage entrance?"
I mean, in regards to the fan with Sheldon Creed, though, going back to the sentence, I'm intrigued too. I mean, hopefully it's more on the lines NASCAR's just like the fan that threw the earning of a deceased family member at Daytona 500. They just banned them from racetracks throughout the country.
You're just banned.
I hope for that guy it's just a ban from NASCAR and just take it as it is, because if not, you might be facing a federal prison sentence.
A suspended sentence for trespassing. Yeah. And then permanently banned from races. That seems fair. I think that's a fair.
It's a fair assessment,
That's a fair sentencing. I think that's a fair sentencing, Well,
like I said,
man, you made some decisions. Now you gotta sleep in that bed you made.
I mean, like I said, I guess after what they did with the Daytona 500, like I said, the fan throwing his family member's ashes on the 500 track after the race. I mean, they banned him permanently from all racing events in NASCAR sanctioned track. So I hope for this fan, because if not, this could be really bad for him in regards to federal prison time.
For real.
Yeah, especially after what you were describing with how strict they were with TSA checkpoints and basically making almost TSA. Dude, there's no way you're getting out of a federal jail sentence on that. But but anyways, in regards to O'Reilly, like I said, Austin Hill, he ended up capturing the win at the naval base. Again, really
very impressive win for him too.
I agree.
That wasn't a BS win. It wasn't like he had to muscle people out of the way. They kind of muscled themselves out of the way.
Yeah, it was Taylor Gray fighting with who was he fighting at the time?
Oh, he moved. I mean, he full on moved him.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean Austin, like you said, both the leaders ended up getting bumping and getting moved out of the way, and then Austin Hill came up, snuck right around him, and ended up capturing the win. Again, really good feel-good story for RCR. First win since Kyle Busch's death. For an organization, in my opinion, I think that organization needed this win more than anybody, because even their Xfinity or their O'Reilly Series teams were good. They were always competitive. They're always elite, but they have just been off ever since that death, and the morale has been down. And hopefully that this could be the little spark plug that gets them going back again. But all right, Sunday.
Yes.
Let's talk about Sunday and the
Austin Hill had not as good of a day Sunday.
It started out good. It
started out great. And then he decided he just didn't need to turn for the turn one.
Then he realized he was Austin Hill again.
Yeah, then he realized he was Austin Hill again.
Yeah, but let's talk about let's take a look at the final score chart, courtesy of NASCAR.com, before we get into hot topics from this race on Sunday. Your winner, again, we talked about it in the beginning of the show. What time is it? It is Heim time, baby. Corey Heim captures his first win in the NASCAR Cup Series at the San Diego Street Course, followed up by second place Bubba Wallace. In third was Kyle Larson. Fourth was Zane Smith. A.J. Allmendinger was fifth. Chris Buescher was sixth. Ross Chastain was seventh. Riley Herbst was eighth. Ryan Blaney was ninth, and Michael McDowell was 10th. Your top 10 in stage one, Ryan Blaney captured the stage win over Ryan Preece, Kyle Larson, Ty Gibbs, A.J. Allmendinger, Todd Gilliland, Carson Hocevar, Joey Logano, Connor Zilisch, and William Byron. Your stage two winner was Ryan Preece, and he finished first, followed up by Riley Herbst, Chris Buescher, A.J. Allmendinger, Ryan Blaney, Carson Hocevar, Daniel Suarez, Ross Chastain, Todd Gilliland, and Joey Logano. Your laps led in this race on Sunday. Corey Heim, the race winner, led 3 laps. Bubba Wallace led 2. Kyle Larson led 11. Zane Smith led 3. Chris Buescher led 7. Riley Herbst led 3. Ryan Blaney led 12. Ryan Preece led 5. Carson Hocevar led 4. You had Tyler Reddick ended up leading 9, followed up by Austin Hill, who led 1 lap. Connor Zilisch led 8, and I think everyone's pick of the week, Shane Van Gisbergen, led 7. So, I want to talk about Corey.
Not a great week for Shane Van Gisbergen.
I'm going to be honest with you. I mean, and again, all the finals the final scoring chart, courtesy of NASCAR.com. Reading how everyone finished, Vince, it is immaculate to me to look at this score, the scoreboard from this race, and I see Ross Chastain led all Trackhouse drivers in best finish coming out of this race. When you had Connor Zilisch and Shane Van Gisbergen led a total of 15 laps in this race, Ross Chastain ends up finishing 7th. I guess to me, it's just, hey, look, it's just the luck that he had. I mean, he didn't get caught up. I mean, Zilisch, to me, in this point, it sucks because I thought Connor Zilisch, this was the week that he was going to pull it off. And he had the correct strategy. He was up in the front with the clean air. He started pulling away. It looked like a driver who needed all the confidence in the world. Let's call it as this. This has been one of the worst starts to a rookie season I can ever recall. And it was just like, okay, finally, he's on a track that he's accustomed to. He's leading laps. He's got the clean air. And then all of a sudden, all of hell breaks loose.
It was not meant to be this week. You know, it's just he was running up front. When the race started, he collapsed towards the back.
He did.
He collapsed towards the back, and we kind of kept looking at each other on pit road like, what is he doing? Is he playing with his food? Was the car good? Is the car bad? There was kind of a consensus that tires would fall off significantly after 7 to 8 laps. And then we had a tire failure on lap 8.
Yeah.
So clearly tires did fall off. And it looks like he was kind of just playing with his food. I think SVG was doing the same thing. You know, Bubba Wallace had a great car, but we know Bubba Wallace is not a road course driver. And he was flying towards the front. You know what I mean? And he got those laps led and whatnot. So But 2311 was all phenomenal this weekend. So I think we all kind of worried at the beginning was like, is this a fluke? Is this them just playing with their food? Like, what is exactly happening? Look, Trackhouse just is not that good right now.
No, they're
not that good, even a little bit. But also, man, Zilic has been on the struggle bus completely. I think they did a lot of good things for him this weekend. The car seemed to be good. I think once he was towards the front, obviously he wasn't so bad. The falling to 20th was kind of more of a mirage of them trying strategy or just trying to see if they can make their car last without stopping in that first stage. Like, is how I kind of translated that. They thought maybe they kind of puttered around. They could make it through the whole first stage without pitting, getting some stage points, putting themselves in maybe in a better place for stage 2, maybe pitting at the very end of stage 1 to not have to pit at the end of the actual stage, really setting them up for a good stage 2. But they kind of just fell into a different strategy. But the car was clearly good. And then they get caught up in that Austin Hill crash. But I am concerned about Zilic a little bit right now. I wasn't concerned. I was trying not to be concerned for weeks. But at some point, it's like, man, is he going to turn this thing around?
Well, and I think that's the biggest question right now. And, he leads the series in DNFs. And after Sunday, he now has a total of 6. He's got the most amount of DNFs in the series. For me, it's like, okay, here's a driver last year. And for a couple of years, even when, a couple of years ago, you were the one that brought his name up to my attention. You're like, dude, this guy is going to be good, right? He's going to be elite. And last year, what we saw him accomplish in the Xfinity series. And I'm like, okay, I get it. Xfinity car, Cup car, totally different cars. But I feel like this kid's going to be able to translate it. And he has not been able to put anything together. Nothing. And even on the tracks that I thought he would start putting it together on, road courses, Michigan was one of those tracks I thought he would finally take off. He's been non-existent. It's just been issue after issue after issue. And part of me wants to sit there and blame Trackhouse because, look, I see a driver like Ross Chastain who has won every single season he's been in the Cup. He's struggling really bad right now. SVG, obviously, we know what he can do on road courses. He's been getting better on ovals, but he's still a fringe chase driver. But like you said, the Trackhouse equipment's not there. But at some point, we have to start looking at the driver. I mean, Trackhouse did a really good job, in my personal opinion, surrounding him with talent. Randall Burnett is not a slouch of a crew chief. That was a great pull to pull him in as Connor Zilic's crew chief, and he just cannot get anything going. And as you said, is everything Connor Zilic's fault at this point in the season? No. But at times, this is not the Xfinity series. I look at Daytona. He's in the front leading the pack at Daytona. Ends up pulling a move that probably would work in the Xfinity series, not working in the Cup, ends up wrecking. So, unfortunately, I think with everybody, it's when is Connor Zilic finally going to put it together? And to be honest with you, it might be this weekend at Sonoma. I don't know. But if it's not at Sonoma, Vince, we could go throughout this whole entire season and basically be like, this could have been a wash of a season from a 19-year-old driver.
Well, it's sad, too, because, I think that a lot of people looked at Riley Herbst last year and they said, this guy doesn't deserve a ride. Riley Herbst is not good. Look at him. He's running, basically 31st, I think, is kind of where he ended up in points last year. He was ahead of, I'm assuming he was ahead of Ty Dillon. I'm assuming he was ahead of Cole Custer, and I'm assuming he was ahead of
Cody Ware.
But other than that, I think that's the only guys he beat last year. Maybe Noah Gragson and him were close. But also, he was a rookie. But I think people look at a guy like Riley Herbst and they think, well, he hasn't really won that much in the lower series. He's never even really won a truck race. He's not really that good. He's won a couple of O'Reilly Series races. What is this guy really worth? And then they look at Zilic and they're like, oh, this guy's a phenom. Oh, he wins everything you put him in. He might be the best driver in the sport right now. And then it's kind of like a reality strike hits you. I'm not saying that Riley Herbst wasn't in the best equipment. He had great equipment. I mean, he took over SHR in that 98 car that won 10 races the year before, and he won 0.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm not saying he's good, but what I'm saying is like, Zilic is having a worse season this year than Riley Herbst did last year. And I thought that would be impossible impossible. It's bad. We're approaching him being dead last in points. He's 17 points or so ahead of Ware.
That's it. So that's what I was just going to say. In regards to historical horrendousness of a season that this is, right? And this is nothing against Cody Ware at all. Rick Ware Racing is nowhere near being competitive. Cody Ware has done a good job, in my opinion, this year. But Cody Ware sits 35th in the points. Connor Zillage at this moment is 34th. As you said, he is 13 points ahead of Cody Ware. He could be dead last with one more DNF. In full-time drivers.
He could be dead last as early as next week at Sonoma. I mean, Cody Ware is a solid road course guy. That's honestly kind of where he has the most success.
Yep.
In terms of speed. You know, maybe not in terms of results. I think results-wise, he's usually kind of best-case scenario is him at restrictor plate races, right? But like in terms of like his speed on track, like it's usually the road courses. So give Zillage a blown transmission, the same way that Cruz had this past week, and Cody Ware's ahead of Zillage, and he's in dead last in the point standings. But I will say clearly Trackhouse isn't there, and the reason I know that that's true is Ross Chastain's in the 20s in the point standings.
Bingo.
We think of Ross Chastain as being a top 10 guy, maybe a top 5 guy, right? Like that's where we kind of see him at, especially with what we saw in 2022 from him. Even what we saw with him at Chip Ganassi Racing, a team that was kind of on the way out. We knew they were on the way out. They knew they were on the way out. Yet he was putting up respectable, 15th to 16th in the point standings with them. It wasn't like he was horrific.
Yeah.
This season, he's been kind of horrific.
He's 22nd in the points right now, Ross Chastain, and that is the perfect example on where we measure Trackhouse Racing is probably through Ross Chastain. And it's nothing against Shane, but Shane's still learning oval. Shane is really good on the road courses. Is Shane a competitive driver in regards to championships? No. That goes to Ross Chastain at the moment. And right now you have your best driver in the stable, Ross Chastain, sitting 22nd in the points. And let's call it as is, too, with Trackhouse Racing. Where is Trackhouse really good at in regards to results? The 1.5s. Vegas, Kansas, Texas, Charlotte. Ross has won multiple races on those type of racetracks, and he has been non-existent at all. So, yes, I mean, while Zillage is absolutely atrocious right now, as you said, it goes back to where is Trackhouse as an organization. And at the moment, it's very scary because this was an organization I was so impressed with. Like you said, 2022, they came onto the scene. The Hail Melon, it was so much fun. 2023, Ross Chastain, one-hit wonder. No, he ended up winning 2 races and got eliminated in the round of 12 and finishing, I believe, top 10 in the points that year. Yeah. 2024, he ended up winning a race. Suarez ended up winning a race, was a playoff driver in 2024. 2025, Chastain, once again, won Charlotte, was a playoff driver. Van Gisbergen was a playoff driver with all the road course wins. It's just, where is Trackhouse Racing at this point? And it's very concerning because I'm a very big Justin Marks fan. I love Justin Marks. I love the innovation. I love the technology. I love the STEM program that he's trying to put in place. But is his hands involved in too much at this point? In regards to... Go ahead.
I was going to say, you have the MotoGP that he's doing. You have a couple of different racing series that he's involved in. And also, they expanded to 3 cars kind of quickly. Maybe there's kind of an argument that maybe he's too involved. But my question kind of is, like, do those things really take away from you? Like, why does it take away from you? I guess is really what I should be saying. It's like, why does that take away from you? What is happening that takes away your resources from this? We saw Pitbull kind of leave the team. Everyone joked that the team would fall apart when that happened.
Well,
and then it did.
Yeah,
and then it did. Maybe is it Busch Beer? I think a lot of people were like, oh, well, Busch goes to a team and then they fall apart. We all thought that was a joke. Maybe it's not a joke. Maybe it's true.
It's happening.
But look at guys like, they lost, who was the guy that they had over there, their tech guy? Landon?
They lost Ty Norris.
Ty Norris.
Yeah,
Ty Norris, right?
Yeah, they lost Ty Norris a couple years ago to Kaulig. And I really do, and I don't know what happened. I guess they just ended it. Ty Norris is a program builder. He did it with DEI back in the early days of DEI. He helped. He was with Michael Waltrip Racing. Michael Waltrip Racing was a very competitive team for a short stretch of NASCAR history. Then he goes to Trackhouse, and then all of a sudden he leaves Trackhouse. They start fading into the sunset a little bit. It's like, what is really going on in the walls of Trackhouse Racing at this point?
I think it's just a lack of understanding these cars. I think that there was an expectation that so long as we have the right engines, these cars are mostly spec cars. We can go get it.
Yeah.
When that's not the case. The more spec the series, the more expensive it is to be competitive.
Mm-hmm.
And you can come out here and think that you have it all figured out, and oh, we only need to spend this much to make this happen, and we have all these sponsors and all these good deals, and everything's working out. It doesn't always work out if you're not putting the money into it. Right now, why is Toyota winning? I think we kind of have the hypothesis that the simulator at this point might be the difference. Well, those things cost a lot of money. Toyota probably spent hundreds of millions of dollars putting that together for them over, in a period of 20 years. It's not like they put $100 million in a year, but over the course of 10 to 15 years, Toyota's been building a simulator that's just better than everyone else's. And everyone else is going to have to pay a lot of money to catch up. If you could build your own parts for these cars, you could kind of get away with not having to spend all that much money because you're not having to figure out how to make the car 1/10 better. You could do things that would make the car 3/10 better that are a lot cheaper. Mm-hmm. But that's just not the reality of our sport. And I don't think it's ever going to be our reality of our sport ever again.
I agree with that.
So it's like if your mentality is that you can just kind of go into this and, as long as you have good drivers and you have good high-paying sponsors and you have the right engines, you're going to be okay. That's not the case. Clearly, it's not the case. BJ McLeod, when he was interviewed and they asked him why he sold out, and he said, well, we tried being competitive for 1 year and we spent $10 million more than we did the year before, and we gained one position.
Yep.
They went from being slower than Rick Ware to being faster than Rick Ware for 1 year. That was it. Spent $10 million more than them to be one position better than them.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's the scary part. But kind of going back to what you're saying with Toyota and the racing sim and all the equipment that they have right now. It is literally Toyota's world. We're just living in it. Corey Heim. Yes, it's Heim time. This kid is a generational prospect. He's got the ride with 23XI next year. He's going to be taking over for Riley Herbst. 13 career starts for his first victory. Immaculate.
Yeah, that's impressive.
Immaculate. And let's call it as is. I understand that Reddick ended up blowing the tire. He got into it with Reddick a little bit in the later part of the race. Really good racing between the two 23XI drivers, right? But the one thing I will say is that leading up to that sequence of Heim getting to Reddick to pass Reddick, Heim was catching him. He was cutting the intervals pretty good. He was following Tyler Reddick, but he was also cutting the intervals. And then eventually I think that Reddick is like, oh, shit, I really need to start getting this together. I think personally Reddick ended up overdriving the car. As example, A was him overdriving in turn 1. You heard Dale Jr. in the broadcast go, Reddick overdrove. And then that's when Heim got right there. And then they went into turn 3. They bounced off of each other. Heim kind of hit the wall. I get it. It looked like Reddick kind of stopped to let Heim go by. I don't think that was necessarily the case. I think it was more on the lines of I think Reddick kind of spooked himself to begin with, and I think Heim ended up hitting the wall. Heim got around him, but it was great racing. And
it was clean racing.
Very clean racing between two teammates. But the one thing I will say about Toyota in general, we just watched basically the Denny Hamlin stretch on Prime. Essentially, we just watched Hamlin rip off 3 straight wins. Then we watched Corey Heim end up winning this past weekend. Right now,
but in a race where Tyler Reddick is up front the whole time,
Bubba Wallace,
in a race where Riley Herbst was running 4th before the final lap of the race, I think he had a little bit of help from the 38. But he still finished top 10. Really, that was maybe his best race of his career. He was very solid.
He was competitive. He was very competitive in this race. And, Herbst ended up finishing 8th in this race. And, I kind of want to go back to the other 23XI teammate, Bubba Wallace.
Yeah.
Bubba ended up going a lap down. He lost a tire. Went a lap down. A 3.4-mile road course, that is a total death sentence to a driver. He ended up getting his lap back, went right through the field, Bubba Wallace finished second in this race. Immaculate.
Yeah.
Well done.
No, and he got to second early in this race, and we all in the 11 pit box kind of thought that he was just kind of blowing his stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, that was the consensus. We were like, Bubba, he's just trying to put laps down. Good for him. He wants to lead a few laps, and he knows he's got a caution up ahead. I mean, that was the consensus. And then he just kind of kept being good. Yeah, and it just kept working. And then, at the end, like you said, at the end of the race, he gets all the way back to second. I understand that the team strategy kind of just worked out in their favor, but team strategy also didn't. It wasn't team strategy that had him pass 20 cars on pace.
Yeah, agreed.
And Bubba would tell you himself, so I hope this isn't a diss to Bubba, but he would probably tell you himself, I ain't supposed to do that on road courses.
Yeah, well, that's exactly what he would say, right? He's not a road racer. Every time they
He's
ask
not a road racer.
Every time they go to a road course, what is his first response after the post-race interview before we go to a road course? I suck at road courses. Yeah, I hate this. Yeah. Wash, rinse, repeat every time we go there. But no, I agree. I mean, like, Bubba, like, it's immaculate what Toyota's doing at this point. And, like, and I've asked this question for multiple weeks now, and I know Denny wasn't really a threat in this race. But I'm going to ask you on air, is this Denny Hamlin's year?
Oh, God.
I mean,
thought that last year.
Oh, me too.
I thought that the year before.
I thought that for the last 20 years.
I thought that for the last... I as a Mark Martin fan, I need Denny Hamlin to win the championship this year. Because I cannot have Mark Martin come second in best driver to never win a championship. That's bad for a Mark fan for him to come second, and even the thing that is the reward for being the second, being the second best driver to never win a championship. That's wrong. We need Hamlin to win the championship so Mark can keep being the best who never did it. So
I said it.
I'm rooting for him.
I said it last week after Pocono. I said Denny Hamlin is going to have a John Elway-esque type of end of career. He's going to win back-to-back championships, and after 2027, he's going to roll off into the sunset.
And then you have a kid like Brent Cruz coming in at 20 years old, and he'll pick it right up.
Brent Cruz will win the championship in the first 2 years in the 11. But my whole thing with Toyota, and like again, it's immaculate what they're able to, what those boys are able to do over net, or within that manufacturer. One driver I will say that I was really impressed with, Vince, from the street course was Zane Smith. And honestly, I've been really impressed with Zane Smith.
He's been good.
He's been good, really good. And if he doesn't, again, it comes back down to he may make mistakes. Like Michigan, he made a mistake. He was up in the front. He ended up spinning out. Pocono. Pocono. If Front Row Motorsports, man, if they can get that 23XI lawsuit deal, it'd be great for Zane Smith, right? I mean, this is a driver, in my personal opinion, he's got all the talent in the world. You talk about a guy who was in the Trackhouse development program when he was with Spire in 2024. Goes over to Front Row Motorsports, was kind of decent last year. This year, the last 5 weeks, he's been in the front. And honestly, I just looked at a stat from NASCAR First Alert before we went on air. Out of all the Ford drivers over the last 5 weeks, he actually has led the most laps. He's tied with Blaney with the most laps led by a Ford in the last 5 weeks.
And most people in the garage would argue that Blaney is the best driver in NASCAR.
Yes.
A lot of people have that opinion.
It's coming to that point, Vince, especially with what you look at a manufacturer perspective. Ford is, let's call it as this, Toyota's taken the league by storm. Chevrolet, the Hendrick boy, let's not say the Hendrick boys, the three Hendrick guys the two of them, Larson and Elliott, are right there in the championship conversation. But then the Chevrolets are definitely much better than the Ford. The Fords are right now a laughingstock. But then you got Ryan Blaney, who sits third in the points.
Yeah.
With a manufacturer that right now is the third best in the sport. That's insane.
Well, I look at like how good Ryan Blaney is too. It shows even last year he's qualifying like 35th, and he hates his car in practice. And by the end of the race,
he's second.
He's up front. By the end of the race, he's up front. And what you missed in between the start of the race and the end of the race is that he did it 3 times because his pit crew messed up 3 times.
Oh my God, we talk about this every single week. I mean, the pit road mistakes that Ryan Blaney's team has costed him. Like at one point, he lost 87 positions within the first 10 weeks of the season because of pit road penalties.
And other just pit road miscues. I mean, it's just been terrible. They're averaging like the worst average time. Everyone else is in the 9-second bracket. They're in the 12-second bracket, and they still have a loose wheel come off the car or something. It's like, guys, just take your time at this point.
Then they go right through the field, and guess who's at the end of the road? Ryan Blaney.
Ryan Blaney. But no, he's phenomenal, and Zane Smith has recently kind of been there. Right now, Zane Smith sits 23rd in points, so we shouldn't be going crazy.
No, but I'm always a person, and I've said this on air multiple times for multiple years. Good things happen to drivers that put their cars in the front. And Zane Smith is putting that car in the front. Now, granted, he's putting the car in the front. Now, he might be making mistakes because he does not know how to necessarily operate in the front.
And we've talked about this. Guys who don't know how to operate in a front towards the front of the field. They just don't know what to do.
Ricky Stenhouse Jr.
Yes.
But the point is that good things happen to drivers that put their car in the front. And Zane Smith is week in and week out over the last month has been able to do that. So it's kind of like, hey, when are we going to start circling a possible Zane Smith victory here? Because that car, I've seen the 38 car in the front more than I have seen Brad Keselowski, which breaks my heart. RFK right now outside Buescher collecting just top 10s like they're candy has been falling apart like crazy. Zane Smith might be that second best driver in the Ford stable at the moment.
If I had to pick my top 3 dark horses to win a race this year, I'm picking Zane Smith ahead of Ross Chastain. I'm picking Zane Smith ahead of Todd Gilliland, his teammate, obviously. But I'm picking Zane Smith ahead of his teammates, both of them. I'm picking him ahead of Preece and Keselowski. I'm picking him ahead of Cindric, who's having a kind of solid season. I'm picking him ahead of Logano. I'm picking him ahead of all of those guys, all of those Ford guys, the dark horse Mustangs. I know we normally say dark horse as a guy who's not likely to win. Ford's not likely to win right now. So the whole manufacturer is the dark horse. I didn't think they meant to do that with the branding. But I'm picking Zane Smith ahead of all of those guys, but I'm also picking him ahead of guys like Michael McDowell and Ross Chastain right now.
Yeah. I mean, to be honest with you, I look at the points. I'm looking at the points myself. And when you look at drivers that, Zane, like you say, he's 23rd in the points. We shouldn't be jumping for joy oh, my God, he's a world beater. It's just what I've seen over the last couple weeks. And it's exciting to see someone kind of start rising to the occasion, putting the car in the front, lead laps, get the clean air, understand what you need to do in the front of the field. But like you said, I would take Zane Smith winning a race. I would take the bet that Zane Smith wins a race before Joey Logano. Logano's going to wreck it. Folks, Logano's going to wreck at Atlanta. Or Daytona. Let's cut the shit here. He's not going to win one of those races. He's going to wreck the field. Cindric, I would definitely take him. I would take Zane Smith winning a race before Cindric. Ryan Preece, I would take Zane Smith. Van Gisbergen, I would just take on the road courses, but out on any oval, I would take Zane Smith. Brad Keselowski, AJ Allmendinger, Michael McDowell, Ross Chastain, I kind of agree with you on all that. I think Zane Smith is a better driver at this point in the season than those drivers that we just named.
But we'll have to see, because I think that also we've seen FRM show up and they just have snowplows for cars.
Yeah, it's a shame because I love a guy like Todd Gilliland. I think Gilliland is
the Todd father.
I think Todd is a good driver. I think he is a foundational driver, and it's just man, and for all the fans with the conspiracy theory that 23XI got these wins part of the lawsuit, Front Row Motorsports was also the name of another organization that was in that lawsuit. Front Row Motorsports has not won a race yet.
But I feel as for a Ford, I feel they're doing pretty good.
Well, let me ask you a question right now. What you have seen over the last, what are we, event number 16 in the season?
Yeah.
Who would you take at the moment right now? Would you take Zane Smith or any of the RFK drivers?
I'm still going with Chris Buescher.
Buescher is good. Buescher just
Buescher. You said it earlier. When you put your car up front, good things happen. He runs top 10 every single race, every single week. It doesn't matter if the track is on a naval base or if the track is on an oval or the track's on a short track. He's just collecting top 10s and top 15s, and I think that's all those cars can give him. I think Buescher, look at his history. Buescher's always been a guy who's just going to get exactly what the car is going to give him. And I think there's an art to that. Yeah. Sometimes he has the best car. That means he's going to have a shot to win the race. But when he was with JTG, he was getting like 15th to 20th finishes every single week, and he kind of snuck his way into 15th in points, and people are like, wow, he's doing really good. It's like, yeah, but everyone else who's in that point range has way more top 10s than him, and maybe a top 5 more than him. He's not really getting top 10s and top 5s. He's just kind of there every week. He's just kind of not messing up. He's just not putting himself in bad situations. He's just not wrecking the car. And unfortunately, Zane Smith, maybe fortunately, maybe he's learning a lot, has put himself in some bad situations. Pocono, that was kind of a stupid mistake. He just overstepped when he really did not need to. Michigan, silly mistake there. But also, like, Charlotte.
Yep.
So it's like he's been fast, but he hasn't really been great. Mm-hmm. So I'm still taking Buescher because I know Buescher's just great.
Yeah, I mean, Buescher right now, I'm looking at the points. He's 7th right now in the points.
Yeah. His highest Ford, by the way.
Outside, minus Blaney. Blaney's 3rd, but then you got Buescher who's in 7th.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry, I missed Blaney.
No, you're good. Buescher is 7th. The only thing with Buescher, though, is like he's only led 75 laps. I mean, I'm just waiting for you know what it is? We're always due for a good old-fashioned Chris Buescher win. And when I mean Chris Buescher, like they offload, practice qualifying, and the race, they're just immaculate. And it's going to happen. We know it's going to happen. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's a couple tracks that are coming up. Richmond, I love him at Richmond always. I love him at Iowa. I mean, he's got a couple of restrictor plate tracks. And what's called is this. I mean, yes, he's a top 10.
I also like his teammate at Iowa, too. Ryan Preece at Iowa.
Ooh.
And in Richmond. Both of those tracks sweeping.
Well, that's why I like Brad. That's why I don't want to give up on Brad either, because Brad could get, if Brad gets it together, I know he's in a slump right now, and he's going to be in a slump this weekend at Sonoma because he sucks at road courses. But once he gets out of Sonoma, I think Brad can actually start getting hot again and get himself back into the chase.
He could. I think all of the RFK guys are consistent enough that they could. I think that's a team that just builds on consistency. Right now, when I'm looking at the point standings, what also stands out to me is, wow, Daniel Suarez and Carson Hocevar?
Carson Hocevar, 8th and 9th in the points. Hocevar, listen, I was listening to Hocevar on the Dale Jr. Download, and he said if he won that race, it would have been the greatest celebration of all time. And I wish, damn it, after he said what he was going to do, he was going to jump into the water and have a Navy SEAL save on his head.
That would have been a cool one. Hey, we're going back. When we go back next year, I hope he wins.
Yeah, I do too. But yeah, no, like you said, I mean, Daniel Suarez and Carson Hocevar. Daniel Suarez, in my personal opinion, is a bigger surprise than Hocevar. Hocevar, I think, is a much better driver.
Yeah,
than Suarez.
I think people knew what Hocevar could be, and he's being it.
Yes. The one thing with Suarez, the one thing I love about Suarez, though, it's like, A, he's getting the final laugh with what Trackhouse has become. But 2, I mean, he is just, talk about another driver who's just absolutely consistent, right? Consistency. I mean, right now, Suarez's average finish, right, in the overall 2026 season is a 13.6 average finish.
That's solid.
That is solid. That is a very. I mean, he's got 2 top 5s, 5 top 10s. He's got 1 win in 17 races. He's got 38 laps led. He does have a DNF, but his average finish right now is 13.6. That is going to get you into this chase.
Yep, and he's got a good buffer right now in the chase. I would almost feel like I'd feel pretty confident if I was top 10 in points, especially because Chase Briscoe's so good. We kind of expect Briscoe to just go above Carson and Daniel and even Chris Buescher realistically. Chase Briscoe will move ahead of those guys. He's at JGR, he's got better cars, and he's a really good driver. So he'll move ahead of those guys. But, the whole top 10, it's like Ty Gibbs. We had Ty Gibbs written off.
Okay, so I got
total bust.
I got ripped on TikTok going into the season. I said with Ty Gibbs, this was a make it or break it season for Ty Gibbs. And if he doesn't get it done, he's got to go back to the O'Reilly. Vince, you would be shocked. I must have struck a nerve with every Ty Gibbs fan, there's 10 of them that exist on this earth, tweeted or commented on my video and said, I'm an idiot, you don't know what you're talking about, he's going to have a breakout year. The first 2 weeks, I was sitting there laughing and celebrating. I said, I told you guys, overrated. Then all of a sudden, Vegas hits, and the West Coast swing. and then all of us are Coda, and then Vegas and Phoenix, and then all of a sudden he won at Bristol, and I'm like, oh shoot, I gotta kind of keep my mouth shut on that. But I agree. I mean, I think everybody had Ty Gibbs written off, and where is he right now? He's 5th.
We had him written off. We also had Daniel Suarez written off. I can't tell you how many people said Suarez should just go back to the O'Reilly series.
A lot of people thought that. They all thought
he should be a career guy at JRM. I mean, even I was like, man, I wouldn't mind Suarez getting a full-time JRM ride and winning, 5 to 10 races a year, and it would be kind of cool to see him do that, and maybe he get a shot again in the future. No, he's getting the job done. This has been his best season of his career by far. And then look at the guy who replaced him. He's 13 points ahead of dead last. The guy who replaced him is 13 points ahead of dead last. I know that Suarez didn't have a great year last year, but you could tell that the team only went for wins. They left a ton of points on throughout the entire season. They were only in win mode. They cared about nothing else because they had a kind of a rough start, so they wanted to just get the win, get themselves in. And even in the playoffs, they just wanted to win to get themselves in. They did not care about points even a little bit. He had plenty of opportunities last year to get a lot of stage points that he just left on the table. This year, this team's just been so consistent. He's getting the finishes. And it's like his replacement is almost in dead last.
Yep.
And the other driver on that stable is, Shane Van Gisbert's gotten some wins, but he's 17th in the points. Yeah, Chastain's had a lot of wins in his career, and I think everyone would assume he's a better driver than Suarez, but he's sitting 22nd in points.
Yeah.
Suarez won an O'Reilly Series championship. He was kind of rushed at Cup, and then he bounced from every single team all at the same time.
It's interesting because last week we had the breaking news that Jesse Love was going to Wood Brothers, right? And I said this when Jesse Love went to that news got announced. I said I like seeing Jesse Love in the Cup. I don't like the move going to Wood Brothers because I felt like Wood Brothers has an obsession of bringing up these young prospects and putting them on the most extreme short leashes ever.
Yeah.
That's how I feel about Daniel Suarez's career. And Carl Edwards retiring put him in the Cup prematurely. Yeah. He was on a very short leash. Martin Truex Jr. ended up becoming a free agent because Furniture Row ended up going down, basically defunct. So Joe Gibbs Racing was not going to let that talent out of the Toyota Racing Camp. Suarez then goes to Stewart-Haas Racing. Let's call it as this. He was on a short leash there because Cole Custer was right there. And then he goes to Gaunt Brothers Racing, which was, again, another short leash because they were a start and park organization. Then he goes to Trackhouse, and he helped build Trackhouse to what Trackhouse is now.
Yeah.
And then kind of got put on the
2021.
Yeah.
2021, he gets top 10s and top 5s. I mean, people were predicting that team would be a bottom 3 team in the point standings.
Yep.
And he had, I think he was just a fringe chase driver that year.
Yeah, I think he was 21st. So
yeah, he was almost kind of there, but brand new team. And then the next year he wins a race.
Yeah, when they started getting
the next year he wins the race, and they start really kicking butt, and the whole team kind of comes together. And then he's got a short leash because you have Zane Smith, and they kind of let Zane Smith go for Suarez, and then Zilich, and they kind of couldn't let Zilich go, which I understand. I understand that completely. But it always felt like Suarez was, like you said, he's on a short leash. He was the first dog to go.
Always. And that's the story of Daniel Suarez's career. He's always on a short leash. And I'm hoping his career at Spire is a little bit longer and a little bit more of a longer leash. I mean, it should be. He won the Coke 600. So
yeah. You could say he kind of lucked into that a little bit, but it's not like he hasn't been there all year anyways.
But Vince, like I told fans all the time when they're like, "Oh, he lucked into the Coke 600 win." Yeah, rain was coming, but the rest of the pit road knew rain was coming. Mm-hmm. And listen, Suarez took the 2 tires. Also, he had to hold off Denny Hamlin and Christopher Bell multiple times. That is not an easy task to do, and he did it. So
it was a cool win for him for sure. I think right now, man, I think that the top 10 is pretty securely in. I wouldn't be worried about any of those guys. And then also, with Suarez and Spire, Carson and Daniel will probably both make the playoffs. I don't really see Michael McDowell making the playoffs at this point. Michael McDowell's a lot older. So again, finally, I think this is the first time in Suarez's career that he won't be seen as the lowest on the team totem pole.
No. I mean, it's definitely McDowell's the lowest on the team totem pole, and then obviously I think Hocevar is the superstar of that organization.
Yeah.
But then you got Daniel Suarez, who's a very good complement within the driver like Carson Hocevar.
I mean, look, Hocevar, everyone's like, man, he's running up front all the time. And I'm like, yeah, but Suarez is ahead of him in points. Yeah. So it's kind of like the tortoise and the hare. Like, Suarez is kind of just quietly not letting anyone pass him. And then Hocevar is very loudly responding when people pass him.
I just think so. Actually, Suarez has a better average finish than Hocevar. Hocevar's got a 14.8, right?
But Hocevar is getting stage points because he's running up front, and then he's just having mistakes or issues at the end of these races.
Yeah, well, that's the biggest problem. I mean, I think that a lot of fans, and Carson Hocevar turned me into a fan lately. I wasn't originally, and then all of a sudden I've turned into a Carson Hocevar fan as of late. I just think he's fun.
He's fun.
It's also ride the Dente, baby. Ride the Dente.
But I can't wait for Heim time versus Hocevar next season. If Heim is as good as he's been in a part-time car as he will be in a full-time car, and if Hocevar is as good as he's been in the Spire car and next year, and that team's as competitive as it's been, those guys are going to be next to each other a whole lot. And it's going to be a great rivalry.
I will say this, Vince, and I think that NASCAR is in very good hands with the next crop of drivers coming up. I really do. You got Corey Heim, you got Carson Hocevar, you're going to have Brent Cruz coming up in the next few years. I think Jesse Love is going to not be with Wood Brothers in the next 2 years. I think he's going to be with a better organization.
Yep.
I think Zillage is going to be a guy who's going to get it together. I think Zillage is actually going to end up in the 48 by 2028. And then you got Corey Day, who's going to be coming up from the O'Reilly series. So NASCAR's in really good hands in the future with a lot of these young drivers.
I think all of them are incredibly talented. This is the first time in a long time that I have, like, I agree with you, that I felt like the young talent is truly, like, on par to be foundational. The way that for all of the late 90s and all throughout the 2000s, all throughout the 2010s, we had basically the same 15 or so core drivers last that entire time. I think that we're entering the time period in NASCAR. We're going to have 15 to 20 drivers that started racing in the 2010s, or in this case, the 2020s. They're going to be around for the 2030s and even into the 2040s. You're going to get into 2035, and you're going to be like, oh, man, oh, he won again. Oh, who won again? Was it Zillage? Oh, Zillage and Cruz were racing each other, and Jesse Love stole the win from those two. Like, that's what you're going to be talking about. You're going to be talking about those guys for years. And I look at some of the guys in the Cup Series now, and I'm like, who's going to end up going? Who's going to end up staying? You know, I don't really have an answer on who replaces Michael McDowell. And I'm not saying he needs to go.
Yeah.
But what I'm looking at, like, well, you know, look, he's in his 40s. He's never been a premier driver. I don't even think he's looking to be a premier driver. You know, but he's kind of the bottom of the totem pole over there. He's getting to be that age where maybe he thinks about retirement. Who would replace him? I don't really have a good answer because we have all these superstars and we kind of know where they're going to go. So it makes me feel like I start looking at names like maybe Cindric, right? He hasn't really had the career that we expected from him from what he looked like in the O'Reilly series.
No.
And it's like, there's plenty of young stock that's in the Cup Series right now who haven't really had that much success, who I think will stick around anyways because there's enough people kind of retiring and moving on. So it's an exciting time to be a NASCAR fan. I really do feel like 2030, man, we're going to be talking about some of these guys every single week. It's going to be awesome.
Oh yeah, I know. I totally agree with that. And like, the final point on this discussion before we get into our Sonoma picks. The way I look at it is like when Ryan Blaney, Kyle Larson, Chase Elliott, Daniel Suarez, when that group came up, you knew that was the next face. William Byron, you could put in that mix as well. You knew that was the next face of NASCAR, right? And so, and I will say this. I mean, so far they've all produced. They have, and you're gonna have the older veterans of those guys, that core, with this younger crew, with like the Hocevars, the Brent Cruz, the Corey Days, the Connor Zillages of the world, battling these older veterans of like the Kyle Larsons, the Chase Elliott's, the Christopher Bell. Like, it's going to be an exciting time in the sport. It just is going to be exciting. And you know what the one thing I love about this though? They're all marketable. They're all marketable. Man.
Yeah.
I mean, Hocevar with Chili's. Like, I always joke with my wife. I'm like, I just can't wait. I just want to eat at Chili's. I just want to ride the Dente, because
you got to ride the Dente.
Ride the Dente, So
he nails it. He nails it. He has it figured out.
He's a perfect driver for that. But let's Vince, let's get to the Blend End chat line. We've been filling up some comments there, and let's get into our Sonoma picks. We ended up, Jake, he chimed in a couple times, said, you boys killing it tonight. Vince, thank you for filling in. Can't wait to be back behind the mic, BWB. Appreciate it, Jake. We miss you. And then he goes, in regards to Bubba, he's becoming a road course racer. That excuse is over.
Bubba's he's getting so many good finishes, he can't be like, I fucking suck at this. I'm so bad at this. Oh, I hate this. I'm so bad at this. So he's just ripping like the fastest times all race.
It's like, I can't believe that I didn't get this again. And it's like, Bubba, dude, like you're finishing top 10 all the time. And then Jack, he checked in. He goes, I don't want Denny to win a championship events. After being a Mark Martin fan, let's go Denny. Win at least
right.
One, please.
We gotta get Denny the win so that Mark can still be the #1 best driver to never win a championship.
I would love for Denny not to win a championship, so that recognition can never be like, oh man, that'd be hysterical. But all right, that's the end of San Diego discussion. We stay in California this week with Sonoma.
Yep.
Last year, Shane Van Gisbergen won, obviously, road course. I'm going to start off with you, Vince. Well, before we get to our picks, Jake, in the preseason, I'm going to get to his pick. He had at Sonoma, he had Chase Elliott win in Sonoma.
Not loving that pick.
He's not bad at Sonoma, but I agree though.
He's a great driver. He has like that. He's tied for the most or the third most ever road course wins. People forget this.
Yeah, hasn't had one in the next gen car.
Has not had one in the next gen car.
But Sonoma, according to DriverAverages.com, he's got the second best average finish at Sonoma since 2023. Only one better is Shane. And that was when one race, Chase Elliott in 3 races got a 4 average finish. So it's like maybe this could be the year for Chase Elliott.
This could be the year. You know who I like?
Go for it.
I like Connor Zilisch.
Oh, you are going Zilisch.
I'm going Zilisch. I think that like all of this is going to culminate in him just breaking through. At least in the O'Reilly series. He's running the O'Reilly car this week. I think that he battles it out with SVG in the O'Reilly series. I think that Brent Cruz kind of shoves his nose in there too, the Cruz missile. And I think that kind of gives Connor the confidence to go run up front this weekend. He had that a little bit last weekend. I feel like this is much less likely for him to just get murdered by Austin Hill. I think there's very low percentage that Austin Hill kills Connor Zilisch for no reason this weekend. So I'm going to pick Connor Zilisch. I know that's a terrible pick because SVG is right there, but I like Connor Zilisch.
Zilisch. All right. I'm not going to hate it. I'm not going to hate it at all. In the preseason, I ended up picking Kyle Larson to win this race. I'm actually going to stick with this pick.
You're going to stick with that pick? I would not. I would have gone with the other Red Bull car.
SVG. You know what it is? Like I picked SVG last week, and I'm like, while yes, he's probably going to win this race by a million miles. I don't want to pick SVG. I'm just like, you know what? I know he's going to win. Let's call it as is. We know he's going to win. He's going to come with vengeance too, because of what happened in San Diego. He's going to be pissed off at everybody. So he's probably going to win this race by like 11 seconds over second place. But the point is that I want to make this fun. I'm picking Larson. He's won here in this next gen car. He actually has 2 wins at Sonoma. But you know what it is? I don't like the average finish. 14.7 average finish. I don't like that since 2023. But he does have the win in 2024. But no, I do agree with you. It's going to be SVG, but I'm sticking with Larson.
That's fair.
Who do you got one to watch?
Ones to watch. I'm going to throw a couple of names out there. One name I wish I was throwing out there is Corey Heim. I feel like we need Corey Heim in this race.
Yeah, next race
it's a tragedy that he's not there. And this is where I think this is where fans get frustrated because it's like, no offense to Riley Herbst, I don't have a problem with him. I think he's actually a good driver. I think he's actually underrated because people hate on him so much. He's not a bad driver. He's not great, but he's not bad. You know what I mean? But also, if it was Riley Herbst or Corey Heim driving the 35 this week, I am in 155 times you ask me, I'm at 155 times say Corey Heim.
Yeah.
He should be driving this car. We miss him this weekend. But a name I am going to throw out there since he's not here is I like AJ Allmendinger this weekend. Even without the manufacturer support,
really?
Dinger's really good at this track. He's had a lot of success here in the lower series. And I think because it's a track they've been to, they don't need the manufacturer support as much because they can lean on kind of some of the older information that they may have had. So I feel like I think he can have a solid race this weekend. I mean, he finished top 10 last weekend. He's been top 10 basically every road course this year. So they've been better this year on the road courses for sure. So I like AJ Allmendinger this weekend. I'm going to throw him out there as my ones to watch.
AJ Allmendinger. The manufacturer support is making me a little sketch. That's the only thing. Just because it's like, yeah, he had a top 5 last week at San Diego, and it seems like maybe he's starting to get a little momentum back on the road courses. But I'm also kind of like, I just don't trust the manufacturer support. But that's not a bad pick. The one for me to watch here at Sonoma, I talked about it earlier. Chase Elliott, and listen, he's wrecked basically like the whole entire Amazon Prime wave. But that car has been in the front a lot. That car has been in the front a lot. He, out of all the drivers within 3 starts, he's got the best average finish at 4 flat at Sonoma. I do think last year that he probably could have won this race over Shane Van Gisbergen if he didn't get caught in the dirt. I do like Chase Elliott this week as someone I'm going to keep my eye on.
That's fair.
Now, in regards to dark horse, who do you got?
Ooh, I should have had AJ Allmendinger as my dark horse. Oh man, you know what? His dad had an amazing run here in 2008.
Oh no!
I'm going with the Todd father.
Todd Gilliland.
Todd father is my dark horse. He was actually fast last week. He was running up front. He was good.
He was good.
His dad was phenomenal at this track in some really dog crap equipment at times. And he very legitimately had a chance to win with a better strategy back in 2008. I'm going to say the legacy continues. The Todd father gets the job done. We're looking like a top 5 this week for him.
Okay. All right. I like it. I like
a Todd 5.
The Todd 5. The Todd 5. I like that. So you're going with Todd 5 and as a dark horse. I'm going with my dark horse, and we kind of talked about him a little bit in this episode. Got his start on road racing earlier in his career. Been very quiet as a chase driver right now, but it's just there. I'm going Austin Cindric as my dark horse.
That's a good pick.
I like Cindric at least as a top 5. I'm not saying for the win, but I like Cindric as a top 5 guy. Now, granted, he's going to blow his engine immediately, but I'm going with Austin Cindric here. I'm going with Cindric as my dark horse.
He's got that cool America tire on it too this week. He's got that black and white with the red trim. That car's kind of hot. I think he's gonna make that car kind of hot in the top 5. I like that pick.
Quick question for you. Alex Bowman says 32nd in the points. Any shot in hell he gets out of the 30s by the end of the month?
I mean, he should be able to get out of the 30s. He's been solid. I think if you look at his points per race, it would kind of put him near like 20th, I think, or like 19th or something. Like, he has actually been quietly good since he's been back, but he's just missed 5 races or whatever it was. Yeah. I think he could be out of the top. I mean, what's the points like? He's like 9 points behind Josh Berry. Josh Berry's been terrible this year. Noah Gregson's been terrible this year, and Austin Dillon's been terrible this year. John Hunter Nemechek's the first driver I'm looking at that's ahead of him that I feel like has had bright spots. So I'm gonna say, yeah, I think that realistically by the end of the year, I think he'll be like 24th or 23rd in points.
Yeah, and will it be enough for him to? Do you think Rick Hendrick keeps him on a 1-year deal next year?
I just don't think that Corey Day's ready.
Yeah, I was going to say that. I think that Bowman, I know there's a lot of silly season stuff going on. I think Bowman signs a 1-year deal to stay through 2027. I think 2028 he's out of the ride.
Yeah, and then maybe he goes into the 71.
Yes.
I think it's kind of a respectable move for him.
Yeah.
And maybe he even takes Ally with him. You know what I mean? Like, you kind of never know on those situations they'd want to stay with him. Corey Day, I think, has clearly earned himself the respect of being kind of that prospect. I was very anti Corey Day for a long time, but he's really shown he does have the speed. He's been good lately, so clearly I was just wrong on that. I was a little too harsh with him. So I expect that Corey Day might be ready by then. And even you mentioned this earlier, maybe Zilic, right? Because Trackhouse hasn't been good. Maybe there's kind of an argument that Zilic goes to the 48 car. I think I'd rather
Red
that.
Bull.
I think I'd rather a full Red Bull Wrap 48 car, or maybe they even renumber it to make it the 88 again or something like that.
Or
just steal it from Trackhouse.
Or to 25. Bring the 25 back. There you go.
Yeah.
25 Red Bull or 25. I don't know. Maybe Lowe's wants to come back in the sport.
I could see Zilic there, and I think I'd rather a world where like Cruz is in the 11, and then Zilic is in the 48, and then Jesse Love is in like the 2.
Ooh.
And then
that's what I'm.
Who else? Who else is a big name? Oh, Corey Day would be in there too somewhere. I'm not sure where, but like Corey Day would be in there somewhere. But like Cruz, Zilic, Love, those 3 guys in like top, first team, and Corey Heim in the 67. Like those 4 guys, like all in top tier equipment. That would be good. That would be good for racing, I think, in the sport generally. So I'm not against it. I'm a Trackhouse stan, but not if they're going to put out bad cars. So
nah, you're going to lose prospects. You're going to lose them. But
yep.
All right, Vince, that's taking us to the checkered flag on tonight's episode of the Broken Wheel Bearing Podcast. Again, appreciate everyone joining us live on the Blown Engine chat line tonight. Real fun topics of conversation this evening. Obviously, Vince was at San Diego, so I heard a different perspective on a fan that was at the race. You got to hear what it was like out in San Diego, so hopefully next year we're back out there so we all can go to San Diego together. If you love what you're hearing, follow us on Facebook and YouTube at The Broken Wheel Bearing Podcast. Follow us on Spotify, iHeartRadio, and Amazon Music at The Broken Wheel Bearing Podcast. Smash the follow button on all of our service providers. And then, again, we'll be live next week post-Sonoma. Jake will be back on air. Vince, really appreciate you coming on Mike this week. Loved having the episode with you and enjoying talking NASCAR and talking shop with you as well. Appreciate you a ton on that one. With all that being said, if you're going to Sonoma, enjoy the race. And if you're not, enjoy it wherever you're watching. Oh, by the way, folks, TNT. We're on TNT this week. Not Prime anymore. It's TNT.
Yeah, just a heads up. We're on a totally different thing again.
Same broadcast booth, but totally different station. But for all my fans that hate streaming, you got cable television back. We're back to cable.
This race is going to have less than 1 million views.
We
just had a road course, and we're about to go to another road course that fans are kind of tired of.
You know what the funny thing
is? And it's on a new television station. They're going to turn on Fox, not see it there. They're going to go to Amazon Prime, not see it there. Turn their TV off and walk out of their house.
You know what the funny thing is that, like, NASCAR was on a sellout streak, right? Charlotte sold out, Nashville sold out, Michigan sold out, Pocono sold out, San Diego sold out. Sonoma's going to be half full. Then Chicagoland's going to sell out. And Atlanta's going to sell out.
I heard Chicagoland's empty.
Is it really?
We'll talk after the after the break.
Yeah. Anyways, with all that being said, have a wonderful evening. Stay blessed. We'll talk next week. Good night.
He didn't slam you. He didn't bump you. He didn't nudge you. He rubbed you. And rubbing, son, is racing.